17 hours ago, the Dawn Rider had been drifting through empty space, its crew celebrating the success of humanity's first faster-than-light jump. Now, surrounded by vessels of impossible size and alien design, Captain Rena Okonkwo wondered if that celebration had been premature. The ship's sensors screamed warnings. Dozens of contacts, each one larger than anything humans had ever built, moved through the void. They had emerged directly into a major shipping lane, the galactic equivalent of parking on a highway. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions on every frequency," Lieutenant Hiro Tanaka reported from his station. "None of it matches anything in our database, but the tone, it sounds like panic." Rena studied the main display, alien vessels scattered away from the Dawn Rider like fish fleeing a shark. That reaction made no sense. Their ship was tiny compared to these massive freighters. Why would they run? "Keep trying to establish communication," she ordered. "We need to explain that we're not hostile." Thousands of light years away, on a station called Prime by its inhabitants, chaos erupted in the council chambers. 47 species had representatives here, governing a civilization that spanned half the galaxy. They had protocols for everything: trade disputes, territorial conflicts, even the extinction of member species. But they had no protocol for this. "The vessel appeared without warning," Admiral Grell growled. He was Vorathi, over 2 meters of armored muscle and predatory instinct. "Its propulsion signature matches nothing in our records. This is an invasion." Speaker Ilmari, an ancient being whose crystalline body caught the light in fractal patterns, raised a limb for silence. "We do not know what this is, Admiral. Let us not assume the worst." "The worst is exactly what we should assume," Warden Drass interrupted. The Cathari diplomat's scales shifted color with his agitation. "Unknown species, unknown technology, unknown intentions. We must respond with overwhelming force." The vote was swift. Admiral Grell received authorization to deploy the Unyielding Wrath, a Titan-class warship that had not seen active duty in 3 centuries. It was a weapon from a darker age, built to end wars rather than fight them. On the Dawn Rider, Rena felt the change before her sensors confirmed it. Space itself seemed to shudder as something massive tore through from elsewhere. The ship that emerged made the freighters look like toys. It was kilometers long, bristling with weapons that Rena couldn't even identify, radiating power that made her instruments flicker. "All hands," she said quietly into the ship-wide channel. "This is the captain. We have company. I want all weapons powered down, shields to minimum. We're going to show them we're not a threat." Her first officer moved to her side. "Captain, are you sure? That thing could destroy us with its running lights." "I'm sure," Rena replied. "We didn't cross the stars to start a war. If this is where humanity makes its first impression, then we're going to do it right." The Unyielding Wrath took position between the Dawn Rider and the fleeing civilian vessels. Commander Nils Brandt, a veteran of campaigns that had burned across star systems, studied the alien ship with growing confusion. It was pathetically small. Its weapons were primitive. Its shields were barely functional. This was the threat that had panicked half a sector. "Commander," his tactical officer reported, "the alien vessel has powered down its weapons." Brandt's eyes narrowed. "A trick?" "Possibly, but their shields are also minimal. One shot from our secondary batteries would destroy them." This made no sense. No species faced a Titan-class warship without raising every defense they had. Brandt had seen entire fleets try to run, fight, or surrender when facing the Unyielding Wrath. He had never seen anyone simply lower their guard and wait. "Open a channel," he commanded. "All frequencies." His voice thundered across the void, translated into mathematical patterns that any technological species should understand. "Unknown vessel. You have entered sovereign space. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." On the Dawn Rider, Lieutenant Tanaka scrambled to decode the transmission. The language was alien, but the mathematical framework was clear. He fed the patterns through their translation systems, working frantically to construct a response. Rena watched the Titan-class warship fill her viewport. Its weapons were locked onto them. She could feel it somehow, that invisible pressure of targeting systems calculating exactly how to end them. "Hyro," she said calmly, "I need that translation." "Working on it, Captain. The base structure is different from anything we've seen, but mathematics is universal. I can build a bridge." "Build it fast." Around them, the galaxy held its breath. The Council watched through remote sensors, seeing this tiny human vessel sitting motionless before the most powerful weapon their civilization had ever created. Warden Drass waited for the inevitable destruction. Delegate Surya, an Elori with wings folded tight against her back, prayed to gods she barely believed in that she would not witness murder. Commander Brant's claw hovered over the firing command. His orders were clear, his duty was absolute, but something in his warrior's heart whispered that this was wrong. The alien ship was not behaving like prey. It was behaving like something else, something he couldn't name. "Transmission incoming from the alien vessel," his communications officer announced. Brant lowered his claw. "Let me hear it." Through the static of first contact, through the imperfect bridge of mathematics and desperation, a human voice spoke to the galaxy for the first time. "This is Captain Rina Okonkwo of the Earth vessel Dawn Rider. We come from a world called Earth. We mean no harm. We are explorers. We have traveled very far to meet you." The council chambers fell silent. Commander Brant stared at his display. Somewhere in the void between ships, humanity announced itself not with weapons or threats, but with the simple truth of what they were. Explorers. They were explorers. And they had come so very far. In the council archives, there existed recordings of first contact with every species that had ever joined galactic civilization. The Vorathi had emerged guns blazing, fighting 3 wars before accepting peace. The Cathari had attempted infiltration and sabotage. The Elori had hidden on their homeworld for 2 centuries before daring to respond to signals. Not one species in recorded history had ever introduced themselves by simply saying hello. Commander Brant replayed the human transmission for the 4th time. The voice was calm, almost gentle. There was no fear in it, no aggression, no deception that his trained ears could detect, just a simple statement of fact. "We are explorers. We have traveled very far." "Commander," his tactical officer said carefully, "Admiral Grell is demanding a status report. He wants to know why we haven't fired." "Tell the Admiral I am assessing the situation." "He won't accept that answer." "Then he can come here and fire the weapons himself." On the Dawn Rider, Lieutenant Tanaka worked through the night cycle, the alien mathematical framework was elegant, logical, clearly designed for exactly this purpose. Communication between species that shared nothing except the universe itself. Within hours, he had constructed a basic translation matrix. "It's rough," he told Captain Okonkwo. "We'll sound like children learning to speak, but they'll understand us." Rena nodded. "That's enough, open a channel." She took a breath and spoke slowly, knowing that every word would echo through history. "We understand that our arrival has caused concern. We did not know this space was occupied. Our people have only just learned to travel between stars. We have no maps of your territory. We have no hostile intentions. We would like to learn about you. We would like to share what we know. On our world, this is called friendship." The message traveled to the unyielding Wrath, to Station Prime, to listening posts across the sector. Council representatives leaned forward in their seats. The human words were clumsy, broken in places, but unmistakable in meaning. "Friendship," Speaker Ilmari repeated softly. "They speak of friendship." "Words are easy," Warden Drass countered. "Actions reveal truth. What actions have these humans shown us?" The answer came moments later. "Commander," the unyielding Wrath sensor officer announced, "the alien vessel is transmitting again. Massive data burst. It's everything." Brant moved to the sensor station. The display showed streams of information pouring from the tiny human ship. Images, sounds, mathematical proofs, biological data, star charts. The humans were broadcasting the complete knowledge of their civilization. Their history, their art, their science, their music, even the location of their homeworld. "They're telling us where they live," the censor officer whispered. "They're telling us how to find them, how to destroy them." "Or how to visit them," Brant said quietly. In the council chambers, the revelation struck like a physical blow. No species had ever done this. Information was power, knowledge was advantage. To simply give everything away was unthinkable. "It's a trap," Warden Drass insisted. "The data must contain weapons, viruses, something designed to harm us." Delegate Surya studied the incoming information. Her wings rustled with emotion. "I see music. They have sent us their music, songs about love and loss and hope, songs about looking at the stars and wondering if anyone was out there. These are not weapons, Warden, these are dreams." Admiral Grell watched from his command post, growing more frustrated with each passing hour. "Commander Brant, you have your orders. If the alien vessel poses a threat, destroy it. If it does not, then contain it until we can determine its purpose. I want action." Brant considered his response. The Vorathi were not known for hesitation. His species had been warriors since before they discovered fire. But they had also learned over painful centuries that not every problem required a sword. "Admiral," he replied, "the alien vessel has shared everything about itself. It has hidden nothing. It has lowered every defense. In my professional opinion, the only threat this ship poses is the threat of embarrassing us with their honesty." The Admiral's image flickered with rage. "You will follow orders, Commander." "I am following orders. You told me to assess the threat and respond accordingly. I have assessed. They are not a threat. They are something new." Captain Okonkwo waded through the silence that followed her data transmission. She had given the aliens everything, every secret, every weakness, every beautiful and terrible thing humanity had ever done. Her crew had questioned the decision. She had answered simply, "If we cannot trust them with the truth, then we have no business being here." The comm system crackled. "Human vessel," Commander Brant's voice emerged through Tanaka's translation matrix. "I have received your transmission. I have seen your world, your people, your history. I have a question." Rena's heart pounded. "Ask." "Your species has existed for a short time. You have fought many wars. You have done terrible things to each other, yet you also create beauty. You love, you dream, you sent this ship across the stars carrying families and children. Why would you do such a thing? Why would you risk so much?" Rena thought about Earth, about the billions who had watched the Dawn Rider launch, about the hope in their eyes. "Because staying home was never enough for us," she answered. "Because we looked up at the night sky and knew we were not meant to be alone. Because whatever was waiting out here, friendship or danger, we had to know. We had to try. That is what humans do, Commander, we try." Silence stretched across the void. Then Commander Brant made a decision that would change everything. "Human vessel, maintain your position. I'm coming to meet you personally." The airlock began its cycle. 3,000 years of galactic law collapsed the moment Commander Brant's shuttle left the unyielding Wrath. The protocols were absolute. No council officer was permitted to board an unknown vessel without extensive decontamination, security screening, and armed escort. Brant brought none of these. He flew alone toward the human ship because something in their words had spoken to a part of him he thought long buried. The council watched through his helmet camera. Admiral Grell demanded he turn back. Warden Drass called for immediate intervention. Speaker Ilmari simply observed, ancient eyes processing what they witnessed. Delegate Surya found herself holding her breath. The shuttle docked with a gentle thump. The airlock cycled, the door opened. Captain Rena Okonkwo stood waiting. She was impossibly small to Brant's eyes, barely reaching his chest, with soft skin that looked like it would bruise from a careless touch. Her two arms seemed inadequate. Her body appeared fragile in ways that defied reason. How did such creatures survive on their world? She extended one hand toward him. Brant stared at the gesture, uncertain. His species communicated dominance through posture, submission through lowered heads. This was neither. The human simply held out her hand and waited. On our world, she said, her voice carrying through the helmet speakers, this is how we greet friends, we touch hands. It means we trust each other. It means we choose peace. Brant had 6 limbs, each ended in claws designed for combat. He had killed enemies with those claws. He had earned his rank with those claws. Slowly, carefully, he reached out and allowed the human to grasp one of his appendages. Her grip was warm and impossibly gentle. "Welcome aboard the Dawn Rider, Commander," Rena said. "Would you like to see our home?" The tour that followed changed Commander Brant forever. The Council watched through his eyes as Captain Okonkwo led him through corridors decorated with images. Photographs, she called them, of a blue-green world orbiting a yellow star. Children had drawn some of the pictures. Bright colors showed mountains and oceans and cities and families. "You brought children," Brant said. "It was not a question." "We brought everyone who wanted to come," Rena answered. "Families, couples, scientists and artists and dreamers. We did not know what we would find out here. We hoped it would be wonderful, but even if it was dangerous, we wanted to face it together." Brant stopped walking. "You expected danger, yet you still came." "Of course, the universe is large and strange, and probably filled with things that could destroy us. But hiding on Earth forever seemed worse than taking the risk. We wanted our children to grow up knowing that fear does not have to win." In the council chambers, these words struck different species in different ways. The Vorathi understood courage. The Elori understood hope. The Cathari found the concept baffling. Why would any species deliberately risk their young? Commander Brant entered the ship's common area. Human families gathered there, watching him with wide eyes. A small child, no larger than Brant's forearm, walked toward him without fear. The child's mother started to reach for her, then stopped. The little one looked up at the massive alien warrior and smiled. "Are you a space monster?" the child asked. Brant crouched down, bringing his armored face closer to the tiny human. "I have been called many things. Monster is among them." "You don't look scary," the child said. "You look cool. Can I touch your arm?" The warrior who had destroyed fleets and conquered worlds held out his limb. The child ran small fingers over his armored plates with absolute wonder. "My people would say you should fear me," Brant said. "Why?" He had no answer. Captain Okonkwo stood beside him. "Commander, I know your superiors are watching. I know they see us as a threat, but look at us. Really look, we have no great weapons, we have no powerful fleets, all we have is curiosity and hope. Is that really so dangerous?" Brant rose to his full height. The child waved goodbye and returned to her mother. "Captain," he said, "my species was once feared throughout the galaxy. We were warriors who knew nothing but battle. It took us centuries to prove that we could be more than monsters. Watching you, watching your children, I am reminded of something I forgot long ago." "What is that?" "That the bravest thing in the universe is not fighting. It is choosing not to be afraid." He activated his communication link. "Admiral Grell, Speaker Ilmari, Honored Council, I have completed my assessment of the human vessel. These beings are not invaders. They are not conquerors. They are a young species taking their first steps into a larger universe. They came here with their families, their art, their dreams. They came here hoping to find friends." "And what do you recommend, Commander?" Speaker Ilmari asked. Brant looked at Captain Okonkwo, at the families gathered in the common area, at the pictures drawn by children who had never known an alien sky. "I recommend we welcome them," he said. "I recommend we show them that their hope was not misplaced. I recommend we prove that the galaxy is capable of kindness." The council erupted in argument. But the argument ended suddenly. Every sensor in the region screamed the same warning. Something was coming. Something massive. Something that made the unyielding wrath look like a child's toy. The Devourer had awakened. Long before the Council existed, before any of the member species had learned to build fires, the Devourer hunted among the stars. It was not a ship or a weapon. It was alive, a creature born in the spaces between galaxies, feeding on the energy of civilizations. Entire empires had vanished into its maw. The Council's oldest records spoke of it in terms of religious terror. Some species worshipped it as a god of endings. Now it emerged from the void like a nightmare given form. The creature stretched across thousands of kilometers. Its body pulsed with stolen light from 1 million consumed stars. Tendrils of impossible matter reached outward, tasting the space around it. Where it moved, reality itself seemed to bend and scream. On Station Prime, panic erupted. Delegates fled the chamber. Emergency protocols activated across every system. The message went out to every corner of Council space. Evacuate, the Devourer hunts. Admiral Grell's voice cut through the chaos. All vessels, immediate withdrawal, repeat, immediate withdrawal. We cannot fight this. We can only survive. The unyielding Wrath began powering its engines for retreat. Commander Brandt stood frozen in the Dawn Rider's common area. The human families around him did not yet understand what approached. They saw the fear on his face and fell silent. Commander, Captain Okonkwo asked, "What is happening?" "Something terrible," he answered. "Something your species has never faced. The Devourer, it feeds on civilizations. We cannot fight it. We cannot kill it. We can only run and hope it does not follow." The Dawn Rider shuddered as massive energy waves passed through the region. The creature was drawing closer. Admiral Warden Drass transmitted, "We must leave." Immediately, the humans are irrelevant now. Let the Devourer take them while we escape. Agreed, Grell responded. Commander Brandt, return to your ship. We are withdrawing. Brandt looked at the humans around him, the children who had shown no fear, the captain who had welcomed him with an open hand, the families who had crossed the stars hoping to find something beautiful. "They cannot outrun it," he said quietly. "Their ship is too slow. If we leave, they die." "That is unfortunate," Grell replied. "But we cannot sacrifice a Titan-class warship for a primitive species we just discovered. Return to your vessel. That is an order." Captain Okonkwo heard the exchange through the translation system. She understood. The galaxy they had dreamed of reaching was about to abandon them to a monster. "Commander," she said, "you should go. There is no reason for your people to die with us." Brandt did not move. "Commander Brandt," Grell's voice grew sharp, "you have a direct order. Return to the unyielding Wrath immediately." "No." The word echoed across every communication channel. The Council heard it. Admiral Grell heard it. Every species watching the unfolding disaster heard the Vorathi warrior refuse. "I will not leave them," Brandt continued. "These humans came to us in peace. They shared everything they had. They showed us their children and their dreams. Abandoning them would make us worse than the Devourer. It would make us cowards." The unyielding Wrath's engines powered down. On Station Prime, Speaker Ilmari watched in silence. Something was happening that had never happened before. A council officer was choosing certain death over abandoning strangers. Captain Okonkwo took Commander Brandt's clawed hand. "Why?" she asked simply. "Because you taught me something," he replied. "You taught me that the bravest thing is choosing not to be afraid. I have been afraid my entire life, afraid of failure, of shame, of being seen as weak. But you walked into the unknown with your children at your side. You smiled at death itself. I want to know what that feels like." The Devourer drew closer. Its presence filled the sensors with static and terror. Lieutenant Tanaka's voice came through the ship's speakers. "Captain, I have been analyzing the creature's behavior. It feeds on energy. But our records suggest it also responds to emotional states. Species that panic seem to draw its attention more strongly. It hunts." "Fear?" Rena processed this information. "It hunts fear." "Yes, historical data shows that civilizations that fled in terror were consumed faster than those that did not. The creature seems to feed on psychological distress as much as physical energy." An idea formed in Rena's mind. Impossible, absurd, utterly human. "Commander," she said, "your ship has weapons that can wound this thing even if they cannot kill it." "Perhaps. Our weapons have never been effective, but they have caused it pain." "Good. I need you to hurt it, make it angry. And then let us do something that my species has done since we first looked up at the stars. What is that? Rena smiled. We are going to sing. Commander Brandt stared at her. You cannot be serious. I am absolutely serious. The creature feeds on fear. Then we will give it the opposite. We will give it defiance and joy and stubborn human hope. We will show it that we refuse to be afraid. In the distance, the Devourer turned its attention toward them. The final battle for humanity's future was about to begin. No one in the galaxy had ever attacked the Devourer. Civilizations ran, civilizations hid, civilizations died. But no one had ever looked at the cosmic horror and decided to punch it in the face, until now. The unyielding wrath opened fire. Weapons designed to crack planets lanced across the void, striking the creature's impossible flesh. The Devourer screamed, not in sound, but in waves of psychic anguish that made every being in the sector clutch their heads in pain. It had not felt pain in millennia. It had forgotten what prey that fought back felt like. Again, Commander Brandt ordered, everything we have, keep it angry, keep it focused on us. The Titan-class warship became a beacon of violence, hammering the ancient predator with every weapon in its arsenal. The Devourer turned toward this unexpected defiance, its tendrils reaching for the ship that dared to wound it. On the Dawn Rider, Captain Okonkwo activated the ship-wide communication system. Her voice reached every human aboard, every scientist, every family, every child who had traveled across the stars hoping to find something wonderful. Listen to me, she said. There is a monster out there. It feeds on fear. It has consumed civilizations for longer than our species has existed. But we are human. We do not surrender to darkness. We light candles. We tell stories. We sing songs that make us brave. Right now, I need you to be brave with me. I need you to show this creature what humanity sounds like when it refuses to be afraid. The first voice that joined her was a child's, clear and pure, singing a lullaby her grandmother had taught her. Then another voice joined, and another. Within moments, the Dawn Rider filled with music, songs in 100 languages, songs of home and hope and love, songs that humans had sung in their darkest hours throughout history. Lieutenant Tanaka routed the audio through every transmitter they had. The music blasted into space, carried on radio waves directly at the Devourer. The creature hesitated. It had tasted the fear of 10,000 species. It had gorged on panic and despair. But this was different. These tiny beings were not afraid. They were singing. They were laughing, children's voices mixed with adults. An entire ship full of fragile creatures faced annihilation and responded with joy. The Devourer did not understand. In the council chambers, those who had not fled watched in stunned silence. Delegate Surya wept openly. Speaker Ilmary's crystalline form pulsed with colors that had no name. Even Warden Drass stood motionless, unable to process what he witnessed. The creature struck the Dawn Rider. The ship buckled under the impact, systems failing, hull breaching. But the humans kept singing. Damage reports scrolled across screens and they kept singing. The void reached for them and they kept singing. Commander Brandt brought the unyielding wrath between the Devourer and the human vessel. His ship took the next blow instead. Armor designed to withstand planetary bombardment cracked and shattered. But he held position. Commander, Admiral Grell's voice came through, no longer angry but something else, something like awe. What are you doing? My duty, Admiral, protecting those who deserve protection. These humans showed us something today. They showed us what courage looks like. I will not let that light go out. The Devourer wrapped tendrils around both ships. It began to feed and recoiled. The energy it absorbed was wrong. Instead of fear, it found defiance. Instead of despair, it found hope. Instead of the sweet taste of surrender, it found nothing but stubborn, impossible, ridiculous human joy. The music grew louder. The creature thrashed in confusion. For the first time in its eternal existence, it encountered prey it could not consume. Fear was its food, and these beings had none to give. They faced death with songs on their lips and love in their hearts. The Devourer released them. It released them and fled. The monster that had eaten civilizations ran from a ship full of singing humans. Silence fell across the sector, then cheers erupted on the unyielding wrath. The council chambers exploded in shocked celebration. Even Warden Drass found himself unable to speak. Captain Okonkwo stood on the damaged bridge of the Dawn Rider. Her ship was broken, her crew was wounded. But they were alive, they were all alive. Commander Brandt's voice came through the comm. Captain, I have served the Council for 40 cycles. I have seen wars and wonders. I have witnessed the rise and fall of empires. But I have never seen anything like what you just did. Your people faced the end of everything and chose to sing. How? Why? Rena looked at her crew, at the families emerging from shelter with tears and smiles, at the children still humming melodies of home. Because that is who we are, she answered. We are small and fragile and our lives are short, but we have always believed that how you face the darkness matters more than whether you survive it. We would rather die singing than live in silence. Speaker Ilmarie's voice joined the channel. Human vessel, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I offer you membership among the stars. You have proven something today that we had forgotten. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to hope anyway. Welcome to the galaxy, humanity. We are honored to know you. The Dawn Rider limped toward Council space, escorted by the battered but unbowed, unyielding wrath. Behind them, the void was empty. The Devourer had fled to darker corners of the universe, nursing its confusion. And somewhere in the damaged ship, a child began singing again. Humanity had come to the stars, and the stars would never be the same.